Alright, so this is going to be a full walkthrough of the Oregon Trail. Now, many of you will call this the original Oregon Trail. It's technically just the 1985 version of the Oregon Trail. If you saw my other videos as well as my interviews with Philip Bouchard and Wayne Studer from MECC, you'll see that there were several variations of Oregon Trail even before this 1985 version. And this is not even the first one with graphics, as I showed some clips in my Oregon Trail video of some of the 1980 version for the Apple II, which had graphics. Very primitive graphics, but nonetheless graphics. It had a map, it had a hunting part, it had variations where you would have to defend yourself from wolves and hostiles. So we're just going to play the 1985 version. As you can see, I've got my name in there, just threw in a random wife, and Andrew and Hudson are my nephews, and Branigan's actually my son. Hopefully none of them will die. And we're going to start out in May because it's a little bit warmer. If you start out in March, it gets a little chilly. The three occupations you have, the only real difference is the amount of money you get. And your points get multiplied at the end as well based on your occupation. So as farmer, you get your points multiplied like 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly. As a banker, you get the most amount of money, but you don't get as many points. And really, you can do this as a farmer. I actually can get through easily as a farmer. As long as you hunt, you do have to hunt for food, but if you get enough oxen and you get enough clothes to keep you warm, you can hunt for food and make it along the way with 400 bucks. As I discussed, there's a number of different algorithms that come into play in this game, and the outcomes basically are based on how many clothes you have, really, as well as how much food you're eating per day, whether you do like the meager meals or the filling meals. It's also based on how fast you're going, and so that affects the health, as well as the climate as well. So the time of year matters, and also as far as how fast you go or how far you go, it varies based on what part of the country you're at. As you get into the Rocky Mountains, you travel a little bit slower. You don't make as much progress. And that was because they didn't really make a lot of progress in real life, and that was what was programmed into the game to make it very realistic. So we're going to leave Independence, Missouri on May 1st, 1848. First off, I'm going to choose a grueling pace so we can go fast, but I also have some filling rations, so the health should be okay. I got plenty of clothes. Other than that, I got some extra wagon parts, plenty of food, and I'm going to hunt for more food. Alright, now on the bottom of the screen, if you've never actually played the game or have seen it played, as you can see on the bottom, you got the date, you got the weather, you got your health, your food, and your distance as far as what the next landmark is and what your total number of miles traveled. And now we've hit the first landmark, and you get the option of looking around and getting that little scenery, and each landmark has a different little scene. There's about 12 to 15 landmarks along the way. Alright, so it's actually 4 feet deep, which is too deep to actually ford. Really anything almost over 3 feet, and what will happen is you'll basically get all, at the very least you'll get all your supplies wet, and you'll have to wait a day for them to dry out. At the worst, you'll drown some people. As you can see, I made a bad decision to ford, and I lost a wagon wheel, 3 oxen, and my nephew Andrew drowned. Sorry, Andrew. One thing to also keep note of is you don't want to lose track of how much food you have, because a lot of times, especially if you aren't paying attention, you could run out of food and essentially starve to death. Now, some of the river crossings, you have the option of taking a ferry. You can do that. It's like $5 or something. At others, I think at least one other, you have the option of a local native helping you cross, and usually they'll do it for sort of a fee. It usually involves clothes, usually like 2 sets of clothes or something, and it's sort of up to you if you want to do that. I never understood the advantage playing as a kid, but after talking to Philip Beauchard, what I learned, and after reading his book, what I learned was that there actually was a mathematical advantage to it. Programmed in the algorithm is it gave you a better chance of getting across if you hired the Indian guide. So it basically was still kind of the flip of a coin, but your odds went from like 50% to like 25% of failing. So now we're at Fort Kearny, which I believe is in Nebraska. Everyone who lives near that area is either correcting me or wanting to high-five me for getting that right or wrong. All right, let's take a look at the map. And the standard map will show you how far you've gone and where you're going to go. It really doesn't matter because there aren't many places that you can actually change your route. You get a couple that you can decide, which way you want to go, and in the end, it doesn't really matter. Grave site. Would you like to look? Yes. Whose grave is this? Oh, it's me from a previous game. I told you it was a bad idea. This was probably from when I was shooting B-roll and just trying to get a lot of different types of shots. I think I deliberately drowned everyone in an attempt to get some B-roll of people drowning. Looks like Chimney Rock up ahead. I think many people would never have even heard of Chimney Rock had it not been for this game. There's a lot of wild fruit out here, but I'll take it. Now we have to flip over to the B side. Basically, this game came with the giant floppy disks, and you had 2 disks you had to put in there. This is, of course, for the Apple II. With the Macintosh version they did in 1990, it was on the little 3.5-inch floppy disk, and they actually had the entire game on there. So you didn't have to do that. But we're actually playing the original Apple II version, so yeah, you gotta flip the disc. Or change the disc. I say flip, it's like a record. It's sort of like a terminology, I just get stuck. I'm used to flipping records. Don't really play a lot of floppy disks these days. And by floppy, I mean the giant floppy disks. Or even the smaller floppy disks. Alright, so this is the hunting portion. You can really only carry like about 100 pounds back, and that buffalo is about 900, so there's really no sense in shooting the other ones, but I'm going to do that anyway, to just show you how much you can get. Usually deer are about 65 to 70 pounds of beef. The buffalo is like 900. Look, say I got 1,800 with those, but you can only carry back 100. Usually rabbits and squirrels are just a few pounds, but so if you kill a couple of deer, that's usually enough that you can carry most of that back. and not waste it. That was part of the, I guess, incentive of just carrying it back. Was Philip said in his book that he wanted to teach students to kind of conserve the hunting part, where you don't have to kill everything you see. You just kill what you need. And it sort of gets you kind of frustrated when you shoot 1,800 pounds and you can only carry back 100. I know many of us think I can carry more than 100 pounds, and you probably could, but, you know, that was part of the lesson. Independence Rock. Everyone wrote their name on it. And you can see throughout the game that the background changes when you get to the Rocky Mountains, and as well as the, I guess, terrain will change based on where you're at. And also if it snows, it'll go to white. I don't think we're going to see any snow in this playthrough, but you can check it out on my B-roll, what I shot. And the hunting portion itself actually takes some getting used to. The maneuvering, you got to kind of practice it a little bit, but once you do, it's not that hard. You get kind of, you really do get kind of used to it. All right, we got 42 bullets and a wagon axle, and very little water. We're at South Pass. Because the health is poor and we've had a little water, I may let the family rest. But I believe, what's next? Let's look at the map and see where we are, and if it's short, we'll just continue. Alright, let's do Green River Crossing, and then they can rest there and probably regain their health. 57 miles is nothing. Yeah, bad water. Wild fruit, excellent, but bad water. So let's get to the river, and then you people can rest. I'm a very stubborn trail guide. Yeah, health is very poor. So let's see, how many days? We'll do a week. Let's give them a week off. It'll be like spring break in June, which is really summer break. Alright, checking our supplies. Only 300 pounds of meat. I will need to go hunting soon. You cannot actually go hunting at any of the stops or landmarks. You have to sort of walk away a little bit on the trail before you can do that. Alright, don't tip over, don't tip over, don't tip over, don't tip over. I think we're good. It would have tipped over by now. Alright. Let's get going. Soda Springs, that's another good place to rest if you get bad water, like we're getting. And I'm going to go hunting so we don't run out of food down the line. Hopefully there will be some bears. Oh, deer, deer. I see a bear. Ah, crap. That bear. Get the bear, get the bear. Boom! That's what I'm talking about. Wrong trail. I guess that kind of thing happened back then. Soda Springs. Everyone is just relaxing in the springs. Why don't I take a break for a few days? 3 should be enough. Alright, only got about 200 pounds of food. I will need to go hunting before we get too low. And hunting is fun. I actually found it to be one of the more fun aspects. Squirrel! I saw a bear. Another bear. Boom! Alright, that should be enough. The hunting portion only lasts for like about 30 seconds. Maybe a little longer. I haven't really timed it. Alright, now we're at Fort Hall. Let's take a look at the map. See how far we've gone. Hey, we've gone pretty far. Alright, we're off to Snake River, which sounds like something from an old western. Lose 9 days? Oh, come on. Yeah, I'm running low on food. Uh-oh. Let's go kill some animals and eat them. Make some bison burgers. Oh, I got the deer. Look, it's just barely on screen. See if I can get one more thing and carry up 100 pounds. Because I don't think that deer is going to be 100 pounds. Still not bad. Venison is good. Rabbit. Oh. And you can see the terrain for the hunting has even changed. You see cactus or cacti, I guess is the technical word. Just because we're out in the desert now. I always thought that was kind of an interesting detail that Philip and his team did, where they changed the terrain as you moved out west more, which obviously made sense. They really put a lot of effort into this. Wife has a snake bite. Wife has a broken arm. I bet there are many husbands who wish their wife would get a snake bite and a broken arm. Hey, I got a couple of deer. Alright, now we're at Snake River. It is 7.5 feet deep. Well, we're not going to ford it because the wife won't be able to swim with that broken arm. I'm sure some of you husbands are like, yeah, so what's the problem? And I made it. I've had pretty good luck on this game, except for Andrew drowning. Sorry, Andrew. That was my bad. Let's see if I can get a little bit more food before we go on. Squirrel, bear. 2 pounds of meat. So basically I made a hat. Hey, some wild fruit, that'll help. I think I'll be okay food-wise. At least till we get past the fort. Another thing to mention was that the terrain when you're hunting was randomized. Not necessarily the type of terrain, but the layout is randomized. It's never the same layout wherever you go. It's just a random thing. And if you see in the corner where the bear was, I've actually seen terrain where I've been stuck there hunting, where I can't get out, can't move, and can't shoot anything that isn't coming into that little bitty corner. Why can't I find a bear? Oh, deer. Man, those things are fast. All right. Got a little something. 74 pounds is better than nothing. And some wild fruit. I'm doing okay. Alright, the Blue Mountains are only 160 miles away. And Branigan has dysentery. Sorry, Branigan. Although I have to admit, son, you have joined the legions of people who have gotten dysentery in this game. Squirrel. I want another hat. I'll give it to Branigan as compensation for getting dysentery. It's like a squirrel family running around. Where's Daryl Dixon when you need him? Alright, so now I got another hat. How about some rabbit stew? I guess not. One pound of meat. That is like the bare minimum. Let's just keep going. 30 pounds of food. Hudson has a broken arm. Sorry, Hudson. Yeah, I gotta go hunting. I don't want you guys to starve to death. Alright, a bear! That should do it. Oh, and some deer. Not that I needed that. Just in case the bear was a little skinny. Very little water. Health poor. Alright, the Blue Mountains. We are getting close to the end. Where do we want to go? Fort Walla Walla or the Doll? Let's do the Doll, because if you go to the fort, then you won't be able to raft. And that's like one of my favorite parts of the game. The rafting part is awesome. Alright, I was unsuccessful. Must try again. See, if I was a banker, I would have just bought enough food. I would have been fine. But I wanted to get those extra points. And I wanted to do this as a farmer. I wanted to do it on the most difficult level, so to speak. Hey, I got a rabbit. We'll have some rabbit stew tonight. Not very much stew. Holy crap. Kill him. Kill him. Get him. Boom. We got that bear. Alright, that might be enough to get us to the Doll. Especially since the portions are on meager. Heavy fog, who cares? Lose 4 days? We just passed your birthday, Branigan. Happy birthday. And adequate grass, very little water. It's just not a good situation. Heavy fog again, and we're almost there with like 0 miles. Alright, now we're at the Doll. Let's take a look around and get ready for the rafting. This is one of my favorite parts of the game, but I'll let the family rest for a few days. Now we'll go down. See, I don't know why you'd take the Barlow Toll Road, because when I spoke to Phil, he did want to include a type of puzzle game associated with the Barlow Toll Road, especially since the actual road in real life was very difficult. But due to just time and lack of available space on the game, he was not able to put that in there. And we discussed that in our interview, which you can listen to if you click on the link below. So I don't know why I would ever have taken the Barlow Toll Road in the game, because there's really no point. The rafting part is much more fun. Here you just have to avoid rocks, and if you actually hit one, you can lose a lot of items, which don't really matter at this point, but you could also lose people. And the items do kind of matter. At the end, they calculate how much stuff you have, but I think the people were more important. What? We were so close, and Hudson drowned. How did that happen? That little curvy line is what we're supposed to land on. And I thought I was close enough that it would count, and I was not. So now we're at the Willamette Valley in Oregon. We made it. Let's see how many points we got. I killed 2 of my nephews, but the wife and Branigan are still alive. And since I was a farmer, my points were tripled. I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4 times what it was. Well, let's see what I got. Alright, 3,800. Pretty good. Enough to make it in the top 10. And these names are actual people who traveled the trail. If you read Philip's book, you'll see that there were a number of variations they had on the top 10. And what they ultimately decided to do was to put actual people who traveled the trail. And that's who Stephen MECC is, and David Hastings. And the idea is that you're supposed to look these people up and, to read about what they've done. But that is the Oregon Trail. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm the Bearded Nerd, signing off.